I'm really excited today because I get to talk to Miss Tressa Jeffreys. You guys might see her on this group quite often. And she has an incredible story about how she was able to grow her business after Slay the Spray 2022. She's actually one of the students that pop in my mind when I think about like success stories when it comes to Slay the Spray. I know that there are a lot of you guys, but she really did something super unique and super special, and that is basically opening up 2 storefronts, hiring a whole team of people, and on her way to $100,000 in her first year after Slay the Spray. She left her corporate job and all of these things, and I want her to be able to share her story with you guys because it is so inspiring to be able to see that actually happen in real time.
Well, hello, everyone. I am Tressa. I own Son of a Gun Luxury Spray Tans. When I was getting ready to go to Slay the Spray last year, I had just started out. I started out in technically April of the year prior, and I think Slay the Spray was in September last year.
Yes.
So I had not been in the business long at all. I was only charging $30 a spray tan. And that was for mobile also, so literally giving away spray tans. And I had just signed a little booth rent at a studio inside of a hair salon where I was like, okay, well, I can charge like 40, 45, but I was still like unsure of raising prices and all of that until I went to Slay the Spray and learned different techniques and was able to add. And now at this point, I am adding, I charge $60 just for the basic spray tan. I use better products, better solutions. I have better techniques. So there's a lot to go into with that. But I basically was just doing mobile and literally losing money if you look at it the right way, because $30 was barely covering my gas.
Oh yeah. Yeah, totally. It's so funny because like when I think about you going to Slay the Spray, the first thing that I think about is the fact that you got your ticket. And I started seeing all over the Facebook groups, like multiple Facebook groups, you're like, I can't go anymore. Can somebody buy my ticket?
Yes.
And believe it or not, I feel like, I don't know, this year it hasn't been the case, but before, like, we had so many people do that. And also a lot of people doing that with like one-on-one trainings too. I think people get anxious or get fearful or doubt themselves, or something happens in that time frame between the time that you buy the ticket to kind of like when it gets close to the event, you're like, oh my God, I have to actually go. And I think a lot of my introverts can probably feel this because I know that I'm one of you guys and I totally get that feeling. So can you walk us through the process of you, um, thinking about that and like saying like, I have to sell my ticket, and instead like what made you actually change your mind and end up actually going?
Absolutely. I, first of all, was working a full-time job at the time as well. This was a side business for me. It was never like, don't get me wrong, once I started spraying and enjoying it, and I was like, oh my God, I could do this full-time, but I never thought that it was possible to do it full-time as far as like the money behind it. I'm like, how am I ever going to make enough with a spray tan in order to make it a full-time job? In my mind, it just felt so out of reach. And when it came down to it, like I was having a lot of problems at my full-time job at the time. I had it's a great company, so I don't want to like make it sound like the company itself is bad, but I had a regional and she and I just were not playing on the same field, what it felt like.
Yeah.
And she also said that my business was a distraction and lots of other things, even though I felt I was still performing well. But that was a part of the anxiety, was like, oh my God, if I go right now and take this vacation in the middle of like, I was literally going through an HR issue. And so I was like, if I take a vacation right now, they're literally going to fire me. I'm not going to be able to have a job when I come back, and I need this money. And in my head, having spray tans as a full time was like so out of reach. But in my mind, I was like, I know that it's possible, right? Like no matter how out of reach it is, I feel like we can do anything we put our minds to, as like crazy as that sounds. I was like, no, I have to be here, because at the end of the day, if I don't show up for myself, I'll never be able to know. Right? Like I can sit here and say what if all day long, but I won't know until I try. So I was like, the idea is that I eventually quit them anyway. And I was going hard because I was like, I know that this is not working out here. It made me want to work for myself even more. So I was like, no, I actually need this. So that was part of the reason I showed up. But the other part of it is the introverted side of it. I had so much self-doubt, not only in myself, but I was like looking at you, I can tell you this just very candidly, because I feel like I know you well enough now to where it doesn't sound crazy, but looking at you and seeing how successful you are with it and all that, while it's super exciting and it's encouraging, but it's also super intimidating, because I'm looking at you like, she's in California, she's like got this going on. But then hearing your story about how you literally started, you used the last like 2,000 out of your account to like get it started. I was like, wait, it is possible for me, even though I'm in a little small town. Like I was intimidated by the fact that you were running this, because I was like, she's only able to do that because she's got money or she's got this and she's got that. But then I heard your story and I was like, wait, no, we're not so much like we're alike in a lot of ways. And I was spending my last dollars trying to get this thing going. And I was like, wait, no, that's possible for me because it was possible for her. And if I put my mind to it and the same grind and the same hustle behind it, I could eventually have something like that. And so I was like, no, I have to show up. But I think speaking to the other side of the introvert is walking into a room of a million beautiful girls. Obviously, I'm exaggerating with the number there, but a million beautiful girls that have their businesses. In my mind, it was like they're all well established. They've been here for 18 years. I've only started 4 or 5 months ago. And I was like, I can't show up to this. Like, I am going to look crazy. I don't know what to wear. I don't know what to do. I don't know, like, didn't want to walk in the room myself. Like, that's a real thing, ladies. Like, y'all know you don't want to walk into a room of a bunch of beautiful people by yourself, because then you're like, I feel lost here. Is anybody going to talk to me? And then I walked in and I can't explain to you the peace that I felt. Like, it was so overwhelming, like how nice everybody was, how like encouraging everybody was. Like I could literally cry thinking about it, because I felt so accepted and I felt like I belonged there, probably more than I've ever felt like I belonged anywhere else in my life. Like I was like, oh, I belong here. Like everyone belonged there. It didn't matter what state you came from, what stage of your life you came from, if you went through a divorce, if you were happily married, like it didn't matter where you were at. Nothing in that moment mattered but you wanting to grow your business. And we all had that in common. Everybody there was hungry. They wanted to learn. They wanted to level up their business. And that kind of like brought us all together in a way.
I love that. That is so true. I was actually just having a conversation with Chelsea Whipple earlier. I shared something that says like, it was a meme and it was just saying like how it's so hard to meet like women your age now. Like as you get older, it's harder to like find friends and things like that. And I was like, this is exactly why I created Slay the Spray because you know, you have all of your best friends that you don't even know are your best friends in one room. And the reason why I feel that way is because we all have so much more in common than we do not in common. Like I think a lot of people kind of feel like they might look at me and be like, oh my gosh, she's like doing something so big and I'm not at that level. But the whole thing is that I did start really small. Like I started out of my mom's house doing mobile spray tans, driving all over Southern California. And I started working for Uber and Lyft and Sidecar and like driving crazy people at 5 o'clock in the morning to the airport because I had to make this work, you know? And so I always feel like the way that I look at myself is just like I feel like a kid a lot of times. Like I know that I know a lot, but I also know that I don't know everything, right? So like I feel such a commonality with everybody there, no matter if they've not, you know, picked up a spray tan gun, which is something that people do. They've never spray tan before. They never even gotten a spray tan before, but they go to Slay the Spray. And then you have people on the other side of the coin where it's like they have 15 years experience. They come to Slay the Spray. And some of those people have become like some of my best friends, you know? So it's really cool to be able to have everyone that really, I think, has like high vibe energy. Like I know that sounds so cliche, but it's so true. Like a lot of the women there I know personally, and they just exude such like supportive energy and a non-competitive, like non-catty type of energy. And that's really what I wanted to create when it comes to Slay the Spray, because I never want anybody to feel less than or intimidated to go, because this can truly be life-changing for them as it was for you. And so that's why I love sharing your story too, Tressa, is because you know, you came in with all of those same fears, right? And then you completely just had this mindset shift. And when that happened, you chose to show up. And when you showed up, you came out like 100%. Like I remember you being on stage. I remember like seeing you write on like your dollar. You know, you really like came in, and that's one thing about Slay the Spray is like you can't just come in and like sit down and just hope that magic is going to happen. It's like you come in, you're open, you're receptive, like you're taking everything in and you're committing yourself to growing and implementing the things that you've learned, because if you don't do that, you're not going to get anywhere. You're just going to waste your $600 or whatever it was that you paid to get to the event, and that's like the last thing I want. So if you can share a little bit about some of the things that you found were like the most profound things at Slay the Spray, because a lot of the times I think, you know, now sharing your story, people are going to start looking for those moments at Slay the Spray this year, and hopefully they can kind of connect the two together.
Yes, that is a hard question for me. I feel like you know me well enough now to know I can literally talk all day about Slay the Spray, because there's so many things for me that was like, oh my God, like this is literally changing my life, my business. I say it all the time. I sound like a broken record, but a lot of what I say when I say it's changed my life is Slay the Spray, I think, is what made me believe in myself on a personal level. I have been reading up, and like I've always been a little woo-woo, but like I have been reading up on affirmations and stuff like that for a long time, but never really like putting it to work. And I remember, like you said, writing on that $100 bill. There were 3 things I wrote. I spray tan full time. I am a 6-figure earner. And even though it's the same thing, I said in 2023, I will make $100,000, because obviously 100,000 is 6 figures, but like I didn't put a definite time behind that when I wrote on a 6-figure earner. So I was like, no, we have to put a definite time on this. In 2023, that's what I'm going to make. And that moment was huge for me, because it's like you said, it's not a magic conference. Like you don't go and just get magic from it, right? You have to implement things. You have to like believe in yourself and understand, okay, I can write this all day long, but now I have to put the work behind it and I have to implement now. But I knew that I was going to do the work to get there, because I was given all the tools at Slay the Spray. So it's like, that's all I need, right? I now have the mindset. I now have the tools. What am I going to do with it? But writing that down was so huge for me. And as silly as it sounds, I have it in my wallet to this day. It's like tearing to shreds. I need a new one. But like, I literally have it all the time. And I got in a really bad car wreck back in December, and it put me down pretty far on my goals. And I wasn't able to quit exactly when I wanted to. But I remember sitting carless because I missed about a month and a half of work. And I remember sitting like carless in my bedroom one day and I'm like looking down at this thing and I'm like freaking out, because I'm like, how am I going to make this happen? How am I even going to get to the spray tans? I was paying like $800 a week for a rental car. The insurance company wasn't covering, because it was like a whole legal situation with the drunk driver that hit me. And I'm like, I wound up turning the car back in because I couldn't afford to keep going back and forth, because I wasn't making anything at the time, because I couldn't get there physically. So I was like looking at this $100 bill with these affirmations on it, and I like cannot explain to you. I started thinking about everything at Slay the Spray, and I literally sat there and like bawled like a baby looking at that $100 bill. And I was like, no, I've got to make this happen. Yeah. And I can't explain it, but like I thought back to that moment in Slay the Spray when we were writing those affirmations, and just the energy in the room and everything that I felt at that moment. And that is truly what I feel like got me back to where I'm like, okay, no, we're about to boss up and do this. Like, we can't just sit here and sit in our tears all day long. Like, let's get up, let's make this happen. So that was one of the big moments for me at Slay the Spray, was the mindset and learning that like, you truly can do anything. You just have to put your mind to it. And you have to work at it. Right. I never believed in myself before Slay the Spray. I can honestly say that. I have people in my life that have told me for years, like, you could be an entrepreneur, you can do your own thing. Like, I've always ran businesses for other people since I was 16 years old. I've managed restaurants, car rental places, like all different types of businesses, properties, but I never believed in myself that I could do it, even though other people around me believed that I could. And so when I started the spray tan business, again, I just thought it was going to be a side gig. But after that, I was like, no, I'm going to start believing what all these people have been telling me, because like now I believe in myself too. So that was the big part, is the mindset part of it. I think that at the end of the day, you can learn techniques all day long, but you have to have that mindset. And I don't know that I would have ever gotten there without Slay the Spray. Maybe if I would have done some coaching with spray tan class on the side, I absolutely now. But Slay the Spray is what really helped me get there. And as far as changing my business, one of the big things, obviously when you change your mindset, you change your business as well. But one of the big things that for my business that really helped me was the technique side of things, was the contouring and just the master certification in general. I feel like where I'm located in North Carolina, a lot of the Sunless artists, and this is not throwing any shade, but a lot of them are like from big time tanning salons that have just done that certification once years ago. And you do have a few like solo artists, but they're more so like people that were like me, in the sense that we went online and we found the cheapest, best like thing that we could find for the moment to get trained. And I won't name the company that I went with, but I found like a company that had a mass produced solution. And you know, they market themselves as the number one in the industry. Well, when you're new to the industry, how do you know the difference, right? So in my mind, I'm getting the best training out there, and I go online and I take these training courses, which I obviously have nothing against training courses, because I've taken some with spray tan class as well, and they're very thorough. But the online course that I took with this other company was very like basic, right? They show you videos of how to spray tan someone, but it's a very basic training. you basically learn like one single pattern. You don't learn different patterns for different body types and different tips and tricks to help with curvy women or even men with lots of hair. Like, you don't learn the extra little details that you learn from Slay the Spray or spray tan class. And a lot of it was catered to their solution. So I didn't learn color theory. I learned which one of their colors to use for what body or what skin tone. So it never taught me color theory, DHA, like levels and what to use, what not to use. It never taught me that. It was just, if you have a skin type 1 or 2, use this quote unquote solution. Whereas spray tan class is going to teach you a little bit, not a little bit, a lot more in depth. They're going to teach you color theory, but also DHA percentages and like what DHA is, right? Because your basic spray tan courses, we can call ourselves certified spray tan artists and experts in this field all day long. But if you're taking one of the spray tan courses that I took, you are not an expert in that field, because I wasn't. But you felt like you were because you just thought that that's what everybody else was doing, right? But when I got back and I started hearing the clients rave about the things, because I actually had an understanding for once after Slay the Spray. I took the master course, and like, it literally set me up for the most success in my town, because quite frankly, and I don't mean it ugly, but no one in my town had been trained with the type of techniques and skills that I learned from that master course. So it really set me apart. Even something as simple as like setting powder. Yes, I used setting powder before, but like, I didn't learn like the importance and why behind it. I took just the most basic courses. So I think like there was a lot of tidbits that I learned, not only from Slay the Spray and spray tan class, but also just from being there and meeting so many other people who I've had the opportunity to continue to connect with over the past year. So I think that there's so many different moments I can point out, but A, it was the mindset, B, it was the techniques, and C, just the camaraderie. Like, everybody there loves everybody. They're like, hey, you want to go to dinner? You want to do this? You want to do that? I met up with so many different girls from North Carolina that I've been able to keep in contact with, and even some other ladies outside of North Carolina, just keeping in contact with over social media. But some of the ones here in North Carolina, I've actually been able to meet up with. I remember I was really low on solution because I was still so new to it, and I did not order properly for the busy season last year. And I was able to reach out to 2 different spray tan artists in North Carolina, both Wendy Bella and Elitha. They both sold me solution at one point in time, and I was like, this is really nice. Had I never been to Slay the Spray, I would have never known these people in my area that do this. So we use a lot of the same solutions. So it was like, even just having those connections, I can't say a single bad thing about Slay the Spray. I really feel like it set me up for success for my business.
I love that you were able to get there, because, you know, that was like one of the things, like, I remember seeing your post and I was like, I'm so sad, like, she won't be able to make it. But seeing you there, and then also seeing like what happened after you went to Slay the Spray, that kind of story is like why I do Slay the Spray. Is there's a couple of reasons why, but mainly it's because I want to hear those success stories. I want to be able to really support you guys in your journey and to show you guys that it is possible. Because if I could do it, and if anybody else that is there can do it, because you're going to be meeting so many different people who have never touched a spray tan gun, like I said earlier, and people who have created multiple 6-7-figure businesses and more, you know?
Yeah.
So it's really, really cool to be able to get that inspiration. And like you said, see these people actually doing it, so that way you know in yourself, like, hey, I can actually do this as well. So can you share a little bit about what happened after Slay the Spray? Like, how have you grown in your business specifically?
Absolutely. So I told you guys before that I was renting a little space in a hair salon, which I loved it there. The girls there were sweet, but we outgrew that little space so quickly. I got back from Slay the Spray in September, and we moved out of there at the end of December. So, like, I'm telling you immediately, and the reason we grew out of that space is not only was I able to add additional services that I learned from Slay the Spray, having the vendors there and stuff was huge. I added teeth whitening, which I needed more space for, but I also like having the contour and having those additional options with those additional techniques kept my books so busy that I not only had to, I had already had a girl on board with me that was helping out as a friend, but now she's became like my right hand. Like, I basically just changed her title to manager to help out because she has been so phenomenal. But I had to basically like upgrade her status with the company and open her books up more, where she was just kind of helping as a friend to help out when I needed it. Now her books were staying just as busy as mine. So we had to bring on a third person. And so we were like so tight in that little room, like, okay, now we have to go. So we wound up moving into our own brick and mortar. And so we have one location in Goldsboro, and we also just we just we just got a space in Greenville. We've been working in Greenville for a couple months. That was after Slay the Spray. Obviously, we opened up a location in Greenville, but we were working inside of someone else's store. And we quickly learned that we had to move out of there because we were going to be too big for that space as well. So I now have a total of 5 people on my team, and we have another girl in Raleigh. So we have basically 3 locations. The third is not a brick and mortar. It is inside of someone's home. But we do, like I said, have 3 locations now at Slay the Spray. When I went, it was just me and my one little dream and my one little spot inside of a hair salon. So we've now not doubled but tripled our income. We're on the road to make, honestly, with Greenville, probably over 6 figures the first year. So I think that we really are hitting all of those affirmations like we said we would. And I just can't even believe it. I remember talking to an attorney after I got back from Slay the Spray, because that's when I also realized, like, holy crap, this is going to get bigger than I ever thought it could. And so, like, I need to do things the right way and make sure everything's set up legally, or the right way from a legal standpoint. And I remember talking to an attorney, and he was like, oh my God, slow down. Because he was like, wait, you're already opening up something in Greenville? And I was like, yeah. And I just kind of explained it, and he was like baffled. And I think sometimes I get kind of like you were saying earlier, where like I feel like a little kid, like I feel like I still don't know it all, and I know I don't. I'm still so new to this, but in my mind it like literally blows me out of the water to think like, oh my God, a year ago I didn't think that I could do this, and now I have basically 3 locations, 5 employees. Like, what is happening right now? So I do think that Slay the Spray, if it can do it, like you said, for yourself or even for me, like it can do it for anyone. Because when I think of myself, I'm like, I am just a little small town girl, like never thought it could turn into any of this. And now I'm like, oh no, like I have got to get this stuff in order because we're getting there. We're growing.
Yeah, that's so exciting. I love like the smile on your face as you're telling the story. I'm just like, yes. Because I remember just so vividly like how everything just happened, and I feel like I mean, I'm a huge believer in like everything happens for a reason, but I knew that you were supposed to be there when I saw your post saying like you were going to sell your ticket. I was like, I don't know why, like I didn't know you back then, like I just saw your name, you know, but I didn't know you personally, and I was like, I just have a feeling that she has to be there. And so the fact that you showed up, and like I remember talking to you on stage, and you share your story about like the corporate, you know, stuff, and you wanting to leave your job eventually, and the fact that that was able to happen less than a year later. What was it, like months? You're good. Like 8 months.
I did not mean to do that.
You were able to leave your job, and now you have 3 locations. You have a team of people. You're not on your way. You're actually going to exceed 100,000 in your first year after Slay the Spray. I think all of that is really, really inspiring. And I also love the fact that you mentioned like doing things right, because I do think a lot of people have this mindset of kind of half-acting things and like cutting corners and not really wanting to do it because there's an investment involved. But I do think that when you start realizing how big you can take something, you do start making moves in a more calculated way. And a lot of those times, calculated ways do involve an investment. Like not only did you invest in Slay the Spray, but then you also invested in our mentorship, you know, recently, and that kind of thing. Which I think is really important, because a lot of people look at Slay the Spray and they're like, oh my gosh, it's $597 to get there, like to be there in person. But it's an investment. Like you have to think that, and you have to believe in yourself enough that you're going to get that money back plus more. If Tressa can make $100,000 after going to Slay the Spray, like literally anybody can do that too, but you have to actually want to do it, and you have to believe that you can do it. Because if you don't believe you can do it, you're just not going to take the steps in order for you to even like go in that direction, because you're going to self-sabotage in some way, you know?
Yeah. I think a lot of what is important to like point out to for people that are doubting and like unsure of like, should I invest this money or whatever else, is if you think about going into any business, right? You're going to make an investment. Spray tanning to me is one of the lowest investments that you can make to start an actual business. And I think that people look at spray tanning as like, oh my God, I'm only making X amount of dollars per spray tan, but you don't realize how quickly that can stack up. And then on top of that, like one of the things I learned at Slay Spray is like adding retail and stuff like that. Like there's so many things that you could do. And I think even from an outsider perspective, if you haven't successfully done it, you're in your head like, I'm never going to make enough like off of spray tanning to make it worth it, but it's literally the lowest cost investment that you can make, even including the training. If you go to Slay the Spray, even if you bought the VIP $5,000, right? And you don't even have to do that. Like, would love to sit at a table with Jimmy Coco, but if you're not able to afford that and you're able to just get there, it's still worth it, because at the end of the day, you're going to learn and bring back so much that, like you said, you get a quick return on your investment. Like, it's not just like, oh my God, I have to wait 10 years for this. You come back, you implement what you learn there, and it's quick.
Yeah.
And it's in the perfect timing, because I know for a lot of people, like, November is slow season, but that could also be a wedding season or whatever else. So when you get back, you get to work, you know? I just feel like if you implement it, it's very low cost investment and a quick return. And I see you, Heather, saying that, you know, your business has been on the fence, or like you've been on the fence about going because your business isn't generating a lot of income at the moment. And I completely understand that. That's where I was at before. But if I wouldn't have had Slay the Spray, I don't think I ever would have generated any more income. Like, I think you're kind of like, you feel stuck right now. So you're like, oh my God, I don't want to add any more money to it. But the thing to do when you are struggling is to invest more money, in my opinion, because you're not ever going to make more doing what you're currently doing now, right? Like, you have to learn those extra techniques to really like set it off. And when you're talking about the cover, you know, let's see, you're talking about, I'm craving big changes in my life now. Sorry. Such as moving out of my home studio to a brick and mortar space, and how to market my services and network in my town. There is a huge marketing portion and a huge like business side of Slay the Spray. So it absolutely is covered there. And to be honest, that's what got me into a brick and mortar, was what I learned from Slay the Spray. Not one brick and mortar, but 2 brick and mortars at this point. So I do think that Slay the Spray, Heather, would be amazing for you. Sorry to put you on the spot there. I was just reading your comment. I want to make sure I got back to you on that. But I do absolutely think that this is like 110% the move that you would want to make in order to get to your brick and mortar and all of that, because without Slay the Spray, I would have never done it. I know some people have without Slay the Spray, but it's definitely the hump that you need to like push yourself over to get where you want to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Heather too, you know, Shauna's going to be there, and she's going to be speaking on Sunday. And she is very, very well versed in how to get into a brick and mortar. And so we do have Q&A and panel discussions and things like that, where you can ask any question. So if at some point in time you're like, okay, I love that talk that Shauna did, she's going to be talking about expanding the team and things like that. If there is a moment though where you're like, I want her to answer this specific question about getting into a brick and mortar, you can always ask during that time, during like Q&A and panel discussions. But I think that's probably going to be the talk that's going to be most beneficial for you. Is going to be Shauna Dexter's talk for sure. And we do, aside from that, like Tressa said, like the marketing and business is really what we do focus on more so than the technical part at Slay the Spray, because I know that it's so important for you guys to be able to create like a successful business. It comes down to marketing, business operations, and things of that nature. So yeah, we'll definitely be talking a lot about that. And kind of to piggyback off of what you were saying, Tressa, like a lot of people look at this and they're like, yeah, $597, that's a lot of money. But like you said, if you think about the average cost to start up a business is $30,000 to $40,000 in the US. Then you can compare that to something like Slay the Spray or taking the training course. Like even our training course that we have, you know, at Spray Tan class, people are like, oh my God, it's $1997. And that includes like a whole equipment package. And some people think that's really expensive, while other people are like, wow, that's so inexpensive. So you get like, it just depends on perspective, and like what you see is the value of you coming to an event like Slay the Spray. Yeah. But you can see and read the reviews through and through, like all over our Facebook group, all over other Facebook groups. Like people love Slay the Spray, and the reason why is because they feel the support and the connection that they need, and they also get the education that they need to get over those humps that Tressa was talking about earlier.
Yeah, and another thing, just to piggyback off of that one more time too, is not even the business investment, but the education investment. If you think about like going to a college for a 4-year degree, you're going to learn certain things, right? And I'm not downing a 4-year degree at all. I personally like spent like 30 grand on 1 year of a private college because I thought I was going to go off and be a nurse, right? I never went into that field, so I just wasted 30 grand. But to think that like I could literally go to Slay the Spray, follow my dream for less than $2,000. What a lot of people don't understand when they're thinking about Slay the Spray is like, this is a literal, like, this is your education portion of it, right? So if you're going to school to be a nurse, a teacher, or whatever else, you're going to spend X amount of dollars on the education portion of that. And it's going to be 10 times more than what you're going to spend at Slay the Spray. But Slay the Spray gives you all the tools that you need. Is there continued education? Absolutely. You can continue to learn, and I believe that you should. Just like after Slay the Spray, no matter how great I felt about all the training, I was like, all right, now I'm doing great. How can I be better? So I signed up for the master mind course. So like, I do think you can always add more training in, but I guess when you look at it as like an education piece too, like most people in their full-time career or even side career, they had to take some type of class or go to some type of college for it. And what you're getting out of Slay the Spray is a fraction of that cost. And you're able to run a business and earn just as much as they are if you put your mind to it and implement all the things that you learn.
Yeah, I love that. I never even like thought about that, but that is true. You know, it's so true. People are willing to spend, you know, $30,000 a year to go to college and to get a $30,000 salary after they graduate.
Yeah, and do nothing with it because they can't find a job in that field.
I spent money and I got, you know, my bachelor's degree in psychology, and I haven't done anything with it. I'm sure there's bits and pieces that I do like remember subconsciously. Like there's like one thing I think I remember consciously that I'm like, okay, I know how to like do communication a little bit better in this way. But other than that, like everything kind of went in one ear out the other because it was just all like testing and cramming and all this stuff. Not to say that, you know, it's not beneficial for anybody, but like it really wasn't beneficial for me, to be honest. And then Heather says, incredible. I just keep thinking about this for months, and I swear little things keep happening in my personal life that are pointing me to push harder in this direction to grow. Thank you for mentioning Ashana Dexter. Yes, absolutely. I do think like Tressa said earlier, the energy there, like if you're feeling in this lull and you're feeling like I am not good enough or I'm not getting clients, my business isn't good enough, you're having these self-doubts or self-fears and fears around having a business and being a business owner, like that is all very, I would say, normal, especially in the beginning stages of your business. And then of course it's like a roller coaster. Like there are days where I feel like the best thing ever, and then there are days where I feel like the worst person ever, you know, in my business. And so it's just this up and down thing. And I think going to Slay the Spray, like not only it ignites something within everybody there, but it's also like for me too, like I get that energy from everybody else, and seeing how excited people are and kind of like the aha moments that people get out of coming to Slay the Spray, and then the connections that are built there. Like we have, you know, a couple people that have been in the industry for literally over 15 years that come year after year. And one of the things that I see them do is create connections with people, and then they're able to open up doors in other different directions of like, other than just spray tanning. So for example, Tressa, you know, she went to Slay the Spray. That's how I initially met her. Then she started working with us in her masterminds course. Now she works with us at class because of that connection. And so I know that I started Obsidian because of the connections at NCT. So like you never know what doors open for you when you come to an event like Slay the Spray, because you're going to be talking to so many people in so many different areas of the industry that you could potentially meet like your best friend, a business partner, a colleague. All of the things that I've done going to events in the past as well are things that are possible for you. So,
and that was another affirmation I made when I left Slay the Spray. I told one of my friends after getting on stage with Kelly, I tripped on the way up there. I promise not to do that ever again. But I did, after I left last year, I was like, I was raving about Kelly. Sorry, I'm a little fangirl. But I was like, Kelly is so smart, so humble, and just like really knows how to do the damn thing. Excuse my language. And I was like, I've got to work with her. I was like, I don't know how, but I've got to work for or with her somehow. And then I wound up talking to Anna, doing an interview with her like several months later. And then after that, I remember telling Anna, like, if there's ever another position here, like I've got to work with Kelly somehow. Like I love Slay the Spray. I love spray tan class. Like I love the mission behind it. And I love all of this. And I was like, I'm going to have to work here at some point. And then here we are. So the mindset behind it is so huge. I cannot express that enough.
Yeah, I love that you keep on bringing up the belief portion of it. It's something that I don't talk about too often now, but a couple of years ago, like when I did the podcast a lot, I talked a lot about belief and having that to be your first basis of a stepping stone in order for you to actually get to where you want to be. Because again, if you do not believe in yourself, you're going to self-sabotage, and you may not even realize you're self-sabotaging. And that can happen in so many different ways. You just not working, you just maybe like going out and partying instead of working. Like, you know, there's so many different ways to self-sabotage. If you're watching TV all day, I don't know. But if you do not believe that you can do something, there's going to be something that's going to stop you from doing it. Because otherwise, like when I started seeing that I could actually create a really successful business in the spray tanning industry, I completely changed my life. I stopped going out. I stopped traveling for a while. I sacrificed a lot of stuff to make this work because I saw the vision to creating a multiple six figure. And honestly, I didn't even see a 7-figure business in my life, but it happened. And so the fact that it can happen for me means it can happen for anybody that is watching right now and anybody that goes to Slay the Spray. But I do think it does take education, it takes implementation, and it takes a lot of grit and resilience to be able to get there for sure. So I have one more question for you, Miss Tressa. For anybody that's on the fence right now, if they're like sitting here thinking like, okay, Slay the Spray is in a month, I don't know if I should go, what would you say to them?
First, I would say, absolutely, you have to go. Like, it's not an option at this point. I would definitely say, like, and I feel like a broken record, and I probably sound crazy for saying this. I promise I have more things up my sleeve. But put yourself first. Believe in yourself. You have to show up for yourself. I had so many doubts, so many things going in my head. And what really, like, finally sent me there was like, no, like, I have to do this for me, right? You can't let a friend, spouse, job, you can't let anything hold you back. You have to show up for yourself because everything else is already there. You just got to go. You just got to go. And it sounds crazy, but when I tell you, like, anything that you're looking for, business support, marketing, like every single topic you can possibly think of that you're wondering about is going to be brought up at Slay the Spray. And if it's not, like Kelly said before, there is like a Q&A panel where you can bring it up and ask. There's not one single question I had where I left and it was unanswered. I truly feel like Slay the Spray is the best thing that you can do for not only your life, but your business as well. And I feel like once you start showing up for yourself and proving to yourself that you can show up for yourself, you realize like, I am worth it. I can create 6 figures just like everybody else in this room. I can do it, right? Like, it's the mindset behind it, but you have to somehow get in a mindset before to know, like, I'm worth it and I deserve this. And you cannot let anybody hold you back from going there, because I genuinely feel like if I would have listened to coworkers, if I would have listened to friends, I didn't really have anybody that was like, no, don't go. But I do think I had people that were like, that's kind of crazy. Like, why would you do that? Like, it's just spray tans, right? But I was like, no, I have to show up for myself. This is going to be worth it. And guess what? 110% it was. Just believe that you're worth it and show up. That's literally all. Like, I know that sounds so simple, but like that one single belief will get you there. And that's what you need to get there. Everything else is there for you already.
For sure. Yeah, we got the education, we got some of the best speakers. Like, everyone has been messaging me, telling me the speaker lineup is so sick, and I have to say that it is pretty good this year.
Yeah.
If you're gonna come any year, you might as well come here, because Jimmy Coco, this is actually his first time ever speaking at a Sunless anything. So I've asked him 2 years in a row previous to this year, and always no, he doesn't do speaking engagements. He's just not a speaker. That's not what he does. This year he said he would do it. So I don't know if I'll ever be able to get back, to be quite honest, because he was really, really difficult to try to like lure in, I guess. And I'm shocked that he said yes. And I'm so grateful that he said yes. And I'm so excited to see him, because he is, if you guys don't know, the inventor of mobile spray tanning. And he has quite literally changed my life, because that's how I started. So if you've ever done a mobile spray tan, or if that's how you started like me, you have to really like go up and give Jimmy a hug if he'll let you. I don't know, like give him a high five or whatever, like say thank you, because he really has like changed my life. The first time I met him in person, I told him that. I was like, and I didn't mean to like be cheesy or anything, but I was like, you literally changed the trajectory of my entire life, because I wasn't about to go to like cosmetology school or esthetician school yet until I could figure out if like spray tanning would actually work for me. So once I did spray tanning, mobile spray tanning, then I got my brick and mortar, then I got my license in aesthetics, and flourished into training and products and all of these different things. So it really started off with Jimmy's invention. And because of that, now I'm able to like provide for my family and like live a life that I want to live and be able to travel and things like that and create things like Slay the Spray. So I really, really appreciate him. And then, you know, we have some other great speakers like Fabiola, who's also a celebrity spray tan artist, Shauna Dexter, Grant from Happy Tan. And there's a lot of people that I know personally that are on that speaking panel that are really like there to help you guys out. And if during these presentations you feel like you need a little bit more assistance, or you do have a question, like never ever hesitate to ask during our Q&A or panel sessions, because that's what we're there for. Yeah, Jimmy's awesome. And agreed, Anna. She says, whatever it takes. So that is our motto for 2023. If you guys haven't heard, whatever it takes, that is our motto. We're going to be saying throughout our entire event. And we have some amazing sponsors as well. So we have about 15 sponsors at this moment. And I think a couple more people are actually going to be signing up soon. So you'll be able to see them at the Tan Tribe Expo that Sunday and Saturday, or Saturday and Sunday, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. They're going to be doing demos and product education and all of that stuff. And we do have a couple of tickets left. So we're almost sold out for the in-person Slay the Sprays. We're going to be stopping ticket sales for the virtual too come November 1st. So you have less than a month to purchase your ticket. And right now we're doing a giveaway for a machine. So if you get your ticket by October 7th, whether you're in person or virtual, you're going to be put into a raffle to be able to win a machine worth $570. So I am super excited. And I just wanted to give you guys the invitation to be able to call Tressa if you guys are interested in going to Slay the Spray and you're on the fence, or maybe you're just not knowing which ticket option to get, or maybe you don't know if you should go in person or virtual. Please reach out to Tressa. She can get on the phone call with you. She can, ask you about your current situation, where you're at in your business, and then she can give you good advice as to, what to get and if to come in person or virtually.
I'm excited to help anybody that's still pending out there. Just know that you're not going to talk to me and not get a ticket, because we got to get you there.
Yeah, it's been really cool, having her on. So you've been with us since September 1st. She's been killing it. She's been on the calls with you guys, answering all your guys' questions. So I appreciate you, Tressa, helping us out and helping our students and potential students out, because, without you, they probably wouldn't come. So they'd be like, I don't know if I should go, one of those things where you're in limbo and just not knowing. And definitely talking to Tressa gives you the motivation and inspiration, and also the security that sometimes we need when we get into a situation that maybe is a little bit unknown or scary or whatever. Because I know firsthand, going to events where you don't know anybody it can be really scary. So
yeah. And one more thing I just wanted to add about it being scary. I can't remember who it is that commented. I think it was Letitia. But someone was making a comment of how they were going to go alone in the beauty business space. So I don't know if you all have seen this, but I remember seeing Letitia's response, and it was literally this describes the whole vibe of Slay the Spray. If you're wondering, someone mentioned how they were unsure about not wanting to go because they were going alone. And Letitia was like, alone? No one's going alone. The only time you're going to be alone is when you are, you need to basically take a shit. And, I was reading that, I was but that's so true, because there are so many people that are willing, us included, willing to meet you down at the bar. You want to grab a drink before you head in or whatever else. No one makes you feel alone while you're there. Mm-hmm. The only way you're alone is if you choose to be, because it is such an empowering event. Everybody wants to really have that camaraderie and really mingle and just empower everyone. So you will not feel that way unless you want to be alone. So that is a huge thing that I like to add, because when I saw that in beauty business space, I was no, because that comment would have made me feel so much better if I would have read that last year. Mm-hmm. But when I got there, I felt all of that. Mm-hmm. And I do remember, just to go back, I know you mentioned Chelsea Whipple. I remember I've been fangirling with her for a long time because I love the vibe of her studio and all of that. She's actually one of the first spray tan artists that I found on social media when I started thinking about doing this. And I remember messaging her and being girl, you are goals. And when I mentioned going to Slay the Spray, I think at one point she had even invited me hey, if you need to grab a drink or whatever else, meet you down at the bar or whatever else. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it's something that stuck with me. And I was okay, well, no one's going to be alone here. So that is something to just keep in mind. If you do feel hey, I don't want to walk into that big scary room by yourself, message someone. Tell us in Beauty Business Babes or whatever else, we will show up hand in hand. You're not going to feel alone.
And most people do go alone. So if you're feeling a little bit weird, because that was the question was all by themselves. And then they just meet their friends. Even Dana's on here, I believe. Dana met her best friend at Slay the Spray last year. They ended up rooming together and they ended up being best friends. So it's really cool to see those connections happen, and also business connections too, not just personal ones, but business connections as well. So keep your minds open, keep your hearts open, I always say. And we also assist in like getting you guys out there because we have like icebreaker exercises and things like that. So it's never going to be as scary as what you're thinking in your mind. Like when you get there in that room and you see a bunch of people, like guaranteed somebody's going to come up to you and introduce themselves because they're also alone. So maybe you'll be the first one to do that too. I mean, I think that I encourage that all the time. It's just like going up to somebody brand new and you never know like what you're going to see out of the relationship. So Wendy says, we met Tressa at Play the Spray last year. Yeah.
And now they're like my favorite people. Like I stalk Wendy Bella Sunless all the time. They were like my favorite.
I love the mama daughter duo
Yes.
for sure. Cool. Well, thank you so much, Tressa, for being here. I appreciate you. Thanks for working with me through all of the technical difficulties that we had. I'm going to get this on our Beauty Business Babes podcast as well. So we'll go ahead and edit some of that stuff out where we were having some like technical difficulties. But other than that, I think this has been really helpful for a lot of people who may be on the fence to going to Slay the Spray. And hopefully people like also in the future that want to come, maybe because they can't come because of schedules or something like that this year. So I love you so much. Thank you guys for being here. I'll see you guys in November.
Bye.
Bye.